In a world of swords and sorcery, the new frontier nobleman, Ragnar Brave, finds himself buried under a mountain of paperwork. He furiously scribbles away, wondering why he must deal with such mundane tasks. The door creaks open, and Sebastian solemnly adds that most of the estate's staff were killed in battle. Ragnar's retainer, Sebastian, enters. Ragnar pleads for help, but Sebastian reminds him of his duties as the new lord. Sebastian explains that the Brave territory is a harsh frontier, constantly beset by monsters and skirmishes. Due to its dangerous environment, other nobles have grimly nicknamed it the dumping ground. Ragnar reflects on his militant family, who were all warriors, leaving him as the only one capable of handling paperwork. He was trained to kill monsters and soldiers since he was a child. But a few months ago, the rest of his family died on the battlefield. As the sole survivor, Ragnar was suddenly tasked with inheriting the entire frontier territory. He despises this new responsibility, wishing he could have lived a carefree life as an adventurer instead. Sebastian reminds Ragnar that he cannot escape his duties. The territory is rich with resources, leading to booming business with adventurers. However, this prosperity is precarious, as developing the mountains attracts monsters. Cultivating the fields invites enemy raids, severely limiting their self-sufficiency. Completely dependent on other nobles, Ragnar realizes he must attend the academy in the royal capital. There, he'll have to suck up to the other noble children to gain their support for his territory. It is a demeaning task he's not sure he can handle. Ragnar wonders if he can refuse to enroll, but Sebastian firmly tells him it's not an option. Annoyed, Ragnar asks what business he has this time. Sebastian informs him that he has something important to discuss. Sebastian announces that Ragnar has received a marriage proposal. Ragnar is shocked by the suddenness of it all, but Sebastian explains that such proposals are not unusual for a new lord. Ragnar remembers that his brothers also had fiancés, but they hated the frontier region. He recalls that they were relieved when his family died, not even attending the funeral. Enraged by the memory, Ragnar snaps his pen, contemplating revenge, but Sebastian calmly advises against it. Ragnar tries to get out of the marriage, explaining that he'll be living at the academy in the capital. Between his studies and managing the territory during vacations, he'll be far too busy. He asks Sebastian to reject the proposal for him, but his retainer states that it's impossible. Sebastian reveals the proposal is from the Duchy of Oldwood, their most important supplier of food and weaponry. Ragnar is floored, arguing that as a mere frontier earl, a marriage with a duke's family is out of the question. The name Oldwood jogs his memory. He recalls an incident long ago when he was hit by an orc, which caused memories of a past life to resurface. Suddenly, he understands the world he's in. Ragnar realizes he is a reincarnator. In his previous life, he lived in a country called Japan. He now understands that this world is the very same one from a game he used to play. He has been reborn into the world of an otome game, a dating simulator for women, where a commoner protagonist attends an aristocratic school. But it wasn't all romance. By the end of the story, the royal capital becomes a battlefield. The worst part of the game, Ragnar recalls with dread, was the villainess. He remembers how she constantly got in the player's way. That villainess was Alicia, daughter of the Oldwood family, a talented lady raised to be queen and engaged to the prince. But for all her talents, Alicia's personality was terrible. She was an elitist who, along with her entourage, tormented the commoner protagonist every day. Despite the constant harassment, the protagonist and the prince grew closer. This led to a duel for the prince's affection. The duel resulted in Alicia's crushing defeat and the immediate cancellation of her engagement. Ragnar tries to recall what happened next. He remembers that as punishment, Alicia was married off to a noble family on the frontier. A horrifying realization dawns on him that frontier family is his own. As the sun rises, Ragnar collapses onto his bed. The thought of living with the woman from the game is the worst possible outcome he can imagine. He pictures a future of being constantly insulted by a laughing Alicia, a living hell. To make matters worse, he'd have to attend the academy with her. As he despairs, Sebastian announces that his fiancée will be arriving soon. Ragnar confronts Sebastian, questioning why they would take in a disgraced noblewoman. Sebastian replies with dark humor, suggesting it's to set an example. He notes the territory's conveniently high mortality rate, much to Ragnar's annoyance. Sebastian reminds Ragnar that all the war survivors are doing their best to keep the brave house alive. He tells Ragnar that he needs to step up as well, and Ragnar reluctantly agrees. Ragnar and Sebastian wait outside as a carriage approaches. A servant steps out and announces the arrival of his lady. Alicia Oldwood emerges from the carriage, her expression somber. As Sebastian formally welcomes their guest, he gives Ragna a sharp smack on the back, forcing him into a bow. Alicia notices Ragna's startled glance at her face, which is marked by a prominent burn scar, and remarks on his reaction. Ragna, taken aback, asks how she got the burn but quickly says she doesn't have to talk about it. With a gentle smile, Ragna tells her that an injury like that is pretty normal in the harsh brave territory. His unexpected kindness leaves Alicia momentarily speechless. Alicia questions if her scar is really normal, and Ragna confirms. He explains that soldiers and adventurers here are always covered in wounds. Internally, he concludes that her burn must be the result of the duel from the game. Ragna recalls how, in the game, Alicia's ruined face made her an object of scorn. He is shocked to see that she has arrived completely alone, without even a maid, despite being a duke's daughter. A small carriage, a single piece of luggage, and no servants. It was all Ragna needed to see to understand the gravity of her situation. He observes her expression, which looks as though she's given up on everything, reminding him of a captured enemy soldier. Sebastian gestures for Lady Alicia to follow him. This defeated young woman is completely different from what he had expected. Ragna had expected her to be high and mighty. He offers to show her to her room. She gently stops him, asking him to wait a moment. Suddenly, Ragna's hand flashes out, crushing something on Alicia's shoulder. Startled, Alicia asks if there was dust on her, apologizing for her old clothes. Ragna cheerfully dismisses her concern, joking that his own clothes are far dustier. What Ragna actually crushed was a demon bug, a curse born from a person's grudge. He had seen about 100 of them clinging to Alicia, each one representing the hostility of an enemy. He remarks aloud that she must have made quite a few enemies. Ragna knows that a normal person infested with so many demon bugs would go insane, yet Alicia remains perfectly calm. He decides to rethink the situation. Alicia was raised to be a queen. It makes no sense that she would suddenly start a duel with a commoner. He concludes that as this is an Otome game world, a villain was needed, and Alicia's existence was likely distorted for the plot. It is a world warped for convenience. Realizing they are both just pawns being tossed around by fate, he steels himself, knowing how her tragic story is supposed to end. In the game, Alicia's hatred consumed her until she transformed into a monster and destroyed the brave territory. This means that, one way or another, Alicia is destined to kill him. Ragna understands that he and Alicia are both being jerked around by a predetermined fate. If things continue on this path, his territory is doomed. With newfound resolve, he decides he will help her turn over a new leaf and get her life back on track. He reasons that if they're doomed either way, it's better to stay positive. And if something bad does happen while they are together, a demon bug scurries near Alicia's feet. He can just kill whatever is responsible. Turning to the confused Alicia, Ragna declares that he wants to fight against this world and its cruel fate. He tells her not to worry about it. Stretching confidently, he announces that he'll do his best to change their future. Alicia is taken aback by his carefree smile. She can't remember the last time anyone looked at her with such simple kindness. As Ragna leads the way, a strange new feeling begins to grow in Alicia's heart. She watches him, thinking to herself what an odd person he is. For 5 days, Alicia has remained in the brave household. She's been quiet, eating the meals brought to her and staying cooped up in her room without lashing out or speaking ill of anyone. Meanwhile, Ragna has been dealing with his own problem, furiously swatting away the unseen pests drawn to her. Annoyed, Ragna complains that he's busy exterminating the irritating demon bugs, which can be sent flying to a target through magic. Sebastian calmly observes that his young master is having a hard time, while Ragna frantically points out the insane number of them, begging for help. He considers just tracing them back to their source and eliminating it, but Sebastian warns that causing such a commotion would lead to the house being dissolved. Sebastian explains that the more pressing issue is Lady Alicia's heart, which is attracting the demon bugs. Ragna dismisses the idea, protesting that the brave family only knows how to fight, lamenting his lack of experience with girls his own age. As Sebastian wonders what a normal youth even is, he thinks of a plan. He confidently reassures his young master that everything will be fine. Having come up with a good idea, Sebastian formulates a plan. Ragna knocks on Alicia's door. He announces that breakfast is ready. Sebastian's plan is simple. Since there are social events called tea parties at the academy, they should imitate one by having breakfast together to build their connection. Ragna begins pounding on the door, enthusiastically yelling for her to wake up and eat with them. Alicia shouts back that she's already awake and to come in before he breaks the door, much to Ragna's relief. He enters to find her already at the table, muttering about his rough behavior. Ragna urges her to enjoy her breakfast and coffee. Alicia sips her drink, still taken aback by his behavior. Alicia coughs, finding the coffee too bitter, and Ragna asks what's wrong. She apologizes, explaining it's her first time trying coffee as she usually drank tea back home. Ragna is surprised, explaining that tea is too expensive for them to afford. He apologizes, but she says it's fine. To help, he suggests adding some sugar to make it better. With the added sweetness, Alicia finds she can drink the coffee. Ragna playfully warns her not to drink it before bed, or she won't be able to sleep. As Ragna heartily eats his meal, Alicia nibbles on hers more delicately. Alicia cautiously asks what he is eating. Ragna replies that it's monster meat, explaining that the boys of the Brave family are raised on it. Horrified, Alicia asks if it's poisonous. He reassures her that you get used to it from a young age, adding that it's an invaluable food source during wartime. Hearing this, Alicia looks at him and prepares to ask a question. Alicia asks why he goes out of his way to do everything himself. Ragna explains that they are simply short-handed, as most of their servants recently died in battle. Alicia is taken aback by the grim reality of his words. Ragna continues, stating the Brave family's philosophy: a defeat without death is not considered a loss. What they honor most is surviving tenaciously and getting back up. He looks at Alicia, beginning to explain further. He gently touches her face near her scar. He brushes his hand over her hair, covering her scar, and tells her she is a truly remarkable person. In the Brave territory, they do not deny their scars, they feel proud of them. He smiles, revealing he has scars of his own. Alicia flinches, thinking he's too close, but Ragna explains it's a habit from inspecting soldiers' wounds before inviting her out. He asks her to take a walk with him, describing the land's abundant and beautiful nature despite the territory's disarray. He adds that in the face of such nature, human conflicts feel insignificant. Alicia agrees, thinking to herself how small everything feels. After a moment of hesitation, Alicia agrees to go. She asks him to show her around the land. Ragna is delighted to accept. As she struggles to keep up, Alicia mutters to herself that she agreed to go. But she complains that no one mentioned their walk would be this deep in the mountains. Ragna explains they are in the Udana mountain range, an area known for rare plants and minerals not found in the capital. Alicia admits she had assumed they would be looking at specialty goods in a town, but Ragna laughs, saying they have nothing like that. He explains that this is no tourist town, but a rough settlement where adventurers come to hunt monsters. He continues, saying the only entertainment is gambling, recounting a dark story about a bet on his father's life. He quickly apologizes, realizing it's not an appropriate story to share with a lady. Alicia tells him it's fine if that's what is normal here. She thinks to herself that this harsh reality was just like the coffee she tried earlier. Ragna observes her, thinking that she is trying to adapt even in this unfamiliar land, and suggests they take a break. They stop by a stream. Alicia cups some water in her hands and takes a drink. She exclaims how delicious the fresh water is. Ragna explains that the mountain range's high altitude and low evaporation allow for pristine natural water. Alicia marvels at a clarity she'd never find in the royal capital. Ragna tells her that although the land is harsh, learning more about it can make it more bearable. Alicia repeats his words, learning about it. Ragna explains the philosophy of knowing your world to survive. He confirms this is the teaching of the Brave family, recalling a proverb from his past life with a similar meaning. He elaborates that in this land, people decide everything for themselves based on their own understanding, and they all fight for it. Alicia realizes that based on the expressions of the people she's seen, this place isn't what the rumors made it out to be. Alicia reflects that the people of the Brave territory don't laugh, a decision made after much contemplation. Ragna tells her it's okay to laugh about it, since it's a place where people gamble with life and death for entertainment. He then announces their destination is just ahead and runs off, leaving a surprised Alicia to call after him. Alicia remarks on how he contradicts himself by telling her not to laugh, then to laugh. She gently takes his hand, calling him a strange person. They stand together at the top of the cliff. Alicia stares out at the breathtaking view before her, a vast and rugged landscape stretching to the horizon. The sun shines brightly over the expansive mountain range, illuminating the wild and untamed beauty of the Brave territory. Awestruck, Alicia can only say, wow. Ragna tells her this is his favorite place, and though it may be just another view, he likes it. He suggests they have a snack since she's probably hungry after their walk. As he sets up, Alicia asks if she can ask him something. She tells him he can call her without honorifics, and he replies that she doesn't need to use polite language either. Ragna seems a bit flustered by the suggestion. Alicia insists that such formalities are a small matter here. Ragna agrees that she has a point. She tentatively calls him by his name for the first time. Alicia poses a difficult question. After worrying endlessly and making a decision, what would he do if he still ended up regretting it? Ragna contemplates her words, thinking back to his own past. He wonders if there is a simple solution, or if it's just a nice-sounding but empty answer. Ragna answers grimly, stating that if you choose one side, you lose the other. For the things that were lost, there is nothing that can be done. Alicia then asks, what if there's nothing left? Alicia confesses that she lived her whole life for a single purpose, and if she loses that, she will have nothing. He replies that then nothing will be left. She cries out that as a duchess, she feels she has already died. That, she explains, is why she came to this forsaken land. Alicia quickly apologizes for her improper remark. Ragna, frustrated by the swarming demon bugs, wonders if it's impossible to sever these feelings. He remembers Sebastian's advice to just be honest and face things as he is. Steeling himself, he calls out her name. He looks her in the eyes and declares that he will protect her from now on, always. Alicia is left utterly stunned by his sudden declaration. He explains his reasoning. Even if the Alicia of the duchy is no more, she is now Alicia of the Brave family, and he promises to protect her no matter what. Alicia remarks that he doesn't sound used to it, and Ragna admits he practiced for this moment. He confesses he did image training by picturing posh nobles, but Alicia internally finds the idea ridiculous. Ragna sighs, feeling all his practice was wasted. Alicia smiles faintly, telling him she doesn't dislike it, finding his directness easy to understand. Ragna is taken aback by her gentle expression. She admits that perhaps she was overthinking things. Alicia makes a pinky promise with him, asking if he will still protect her even if returning to the academy exposes her to hostility. Ragna readily agrees, saying he's good at dealing with that kind of thing. With their promise sealed, he excitedly calls out to someone named Onyx, leaving Alicia confused. Suddenly, a colossal black dragon appears behind them, its deep voice booming that it has witnessed Ragna Brave's vow. Ragna introduces the black dragon as his friend, Onyx. He explains that he wanted Onyx to witness the vow. The shock is too much for Alicia, who promptly faints. Ragna rushes to her side, calling her weak for fainting. Their first date, filled with challenges, ends with an unexpected bang. Alicia awakens, calling out for Ragna, who reflects on their growing closeness after their first date. Back in his study, Alicia is appalled by the chaotic state of the room. But Ragna simply explains he thought it would be romantic to make their vow in front of a dragon. As the staff wonder about the dragon, one of the men recognizes that they must be talking about Onyx. Ragna explains that Onyx is a dragon that lives deep in the nearby mountain range. He is simply glad that things worked out. Alicia realizes that thanks to the dragon's blessing, the demon bugs have disappeared, but she questions why Ragna seems so calm about the whole affair. Sebastian reminds the young master that he once fought Lord Onyx to a draw, earning the dragon's respect, though Ragna admits it was a near-death experience. Alicia feels foolish for panicking, but Ragna reassures her that it's fine since they were able to negotiate with the dragon. A maid gently tells Lady Alicia that it's okay. The rest of the staff chime in, explaining that they were also constantly surprised at first, but she will eventually grow accustomed to it. Alicia watches them all working on the mountain of paperwork. Seeing him struggle, Alicia holds out her hand and asks him to lend her the documents. Ragna is hesitant, admitting that even with his knowledge from a past life, the task will take a significant amount of time. Alicia assures him it's no trouble, and Ragna hands over the documents to Sebastian to pass to her. He calls out that he has finished confirming the numbers on one stack and moves to the next. As he works, Ragna notes strange inconsistencies in the money flow and purchasing periods for a particular shop. With intense focus, Alicia efficiently works through the mountain of paperwork. She lets out a sigh of relief, announcing to the astonished staff that the documents should be mostly sorted out now. Sebastian is impressed, remarking that it's no wonder they call her a talented woman. The rest of the staff praise her incredible work. Ragna watches her, thinking that without the demon bugs attached, she looks so different. He realizes she can smile just like a normal girl. Alicia observes the other servants from the window. She turns to Ragna and announces her intention to help with the mansion's cleaning. Her declaration shocks the household staff. One of the maids protests, insisting that they can't have Lady Alicia performing such tasks. Alicia calmly states that she is now a servant of the Brave family and wishes to experience things she has never done before. The maids try to stop her, but she has already left. Sebastian is moved by her dedication, encouraging a weary Ragna to also do his best. Sebastian admits he's hardened his heart and left some of the work for the young master, prompting Ragna to call him a demon. Ragna then notices an irregularity in the documents, questioning the unusually high prices at a weapon shop. Ragna realizes the suspicious weapon shop opened on the same day Alicia arrived and is run by people from the royal capital. Their business model, which treats common weapons like rare treasures, doesn't seem geared for profit in this territory. Sebastian suggests their true purpose is to watch Alicia and asks his young master for his orders. Ragna decides he will pluck this problem at its root. Under the cover of night, he makes his way toward the weapon shop. Sebastian warns him to be careful, explaining that he heard from an adventurer that skilled people are there. The adventurer explains that he was angered by their arrogant business practices and tried to steal something. He tells them in horror that before he could even register the sword's movement, his right arm was gone. Ragna listens intently, understanding that these people cut off the man's arm without even drawing their sword, confirming their skill. The information points to a magician, one of the sorcerers who can freely manipulate the world's overflowing magic essence. Those who suffered most during the war were the ones who had to face enemy magicians. Ragna realizes with grim certainty that their target is Alicia, and they truly want to erase her. Ragna kicks the door in with a loud crash. The three men inside are startled by his sudden entrance and demand to know who he is. One of them recognizes him as Ragna Brave. Ragna coolly states that he's only there because they made the first move. He accuses them of snooping around his family's land and offers them a chance to talk before things get harsh. The men exchange condescending smirks. They draw their weapons, readying for a fight. Ragna notes their audacity to draw weapons in front of the lord of the land, confirming his suspicions. The thugs mockingly deny laying a hand on anyone and conspire to silence Ragna for good. Calling him a naive third son for coming alone, the three men charge at him simultaneously. With a single thought of weak, Ragna blocks a blade with his arm and delivers a devastating punch. The force of the blow sends the man flying across the room. Ragna surveys the defeated thugs on the floor. A hooded figure emerges, clapping slowly and complimenting Ragna's wonderful youth and strength. The magician asks if he can pose one question. He then asks Ragna how Miss Alicia is doing. Ragna asks what he means by that. The magician simply chuckles to himself. The magician cackles, imagining the so-called genius Alicia falling under the influence of his gift. He pictures her ostracized and alone. Ragna grips the hilt of his sword. He glares at the magician, realizing, it's you. Ragna lunges forward in a rage, yelling that it's him. He grabs the magician, accusing him of sending the swarm of demon bugs day after day. He tells the magician that he will teach him something about the current Alicia. He explains that Alicia is now loved by everyone in the estate, is great at her work, and lives freely with a smile on her face. Ragna unleashes a powerful martial arts move, the praying mantis. The magician reels back in disbelief, unable to comprehend Lady Alicia living freely with a smile. The magician screams that he sent a continuous curse to her every day to make her resent everyone. Ragna decides he needs to check on her right away. He swings his sword, declaring there's no way he'll let the magician go. The magician cries out in confusion as his magic fails to stop the attack, while Ragna coldly states that anything he does is useless. Ragna strikes him with the flat of his blade, declaring the first blow is for the adventurer's arm. He lands another blow, this one for the constant pests the magician sent. He offers to spare the magician's life, but only if he reveals who is behind this plot. The magician panics and reveals that the Duke's Ignite family is behind everything. Ragna thanks him for the information. He then raises his sword for one final strike, this one for all the trouble caused to Alicia. As the magician lies defeated and spouting curses, Ragna stands over him, unmoved. In response to the magician's final words, Ragna thinks to himself that he is already cursed. Sebastian appears at the door, asking if the young master is finished. Ragna asks Sebastian to clean up the aftermath, and the butler agrees without hesitation. On the way back, Ragna tells Sebastian he has a question. He asks if there is any way to keep Alicia close to him when they go to the academy. Sebastian misinterprets his intentions, thinking he means to live under the same roof, which would be quite scandalous for students. Ragna quickly clarifies that he simply wants to be close enough to protect her if something happens, placing his trust in Sebastian to arrange it. Walking alone, Ragna wonders if this is the first time he has gone this far for someone since avenging his father. He touches his chest, pondering when his heart stopped feeling anything. He walks on, wondering if he will be able to fit in at the academy. Alicia finishes reviewing a stack of documents. Sitting at her desk, she wonders if the information she gathered is enough. She resolves to make sure she tells Ragna everything she has learned about the academy. With feelings for each other growing in their hearts, the night deepens over the brave estate. A few months later, the day before their departure to the royal capital, Alicia works in the garden, feeling a tinge of regret that she won't be there to harvest the radishes. The resources once dedicated to her higher education were redirected to household chores, molding Alicia into a remarkably talented and capable woman. One of the maids tearfully calls out Alicia's name, distraught over her impending departure. As they prepare to leave, one of the maids clings to Alicia, begging her not to go. The other staff members suggest that Alicia could remain at the mansion while Ragna attends the academy alone, noting the difference in treatment. Alicia gently refuses, promising that they will eat the vegetables from the garden together with everyone at the mansion when they are ready. Sebastian hands Alicia a thick collar. A maid explains it was something Ragna wore as a child, and that Alicia should use it to reprimand him if he misbehaves. Their carriage pulls away from the mansion. The staff shout their goodbyes, offering various pieces of advice and warnings to Ragna, who yells back that he understands. Alicia tells Ragna he is truly loved by everyone, admitting she's a little envious. Ragna agrees, then reflects that this is the first time in his life he has ever traveled outside his own territory. He remembers the warm send-off from the staff. He recalls telling them he was leaving now. The carriage continues its journey through the vast, open landscape. As they travel, Sebastian points out that the royal capital is now visible. Ragna notices Alicia seems tense. Gathering her courage, she admits that while she feels pathetic, she has a favor to ask of him. Alicia nervously asks Ragna if he could show her how to buy a ticket when they arrive at the station. She follows up by asking if he could also show her how to ride the train. Ragna, flustered, tells her not to laugh, but Alicia reassures him, saying she'll handle it since it's his first outing. Alicia teases Ragna, suggesting they put the collar on him so he doesn't get lost in the crowded capital. He flatly refuses. As they enter the city, Ragna looks around in awe. They have arrived at the royal capital Aether, a massive city of over 1 million people, protected by an ancient sage's barrier. Ragna observes that with few monsters and no wars, it's a popular place to live, while Alicia finds it cramped compared to home. After enjoying some street food, they continue on their way. Ragna asks if their dormitory is on the school grounds, and Alicia confirms there are separate dorms for boys and girls, much to his excitement. Their journey continues by train. His excitement soon fades as they continue on foot. They arrive at a dilapidated house, which Ragna realizes must be their dormitory. He is shocked by its shabby appearance and the fact that it's co-ed. He also notes how far it is from the actual school. Just then, Alicia finds a letter from Sebas in the mailbox. Alicia reads the letter from Sebastian. She understands that living in a rundown dormitory is a ploy to placate the nobles who oppose her. Ragna sees the bright side, noting that with no one around, the place is convenient, though it definitely needs cleaning. While reading, he considers planting a vegetable garden in the courtyard. Ragna is flustered when the letter mentions that condoms are in his room, crushing the paper in his hand. Alicia looks over, confused by his reaction. The letter explains that ensuring they live together was the most Sebastian could do. It concludes by reminding Ragna he must pass the exam to enter the same upper class as Alicia. Ragna worries about the upcoming exam. Aethernam Academy gathers nearly all the noble children in the country, with classes divided by rank. Those with a chance of marrying into royalty are placed in the upper class, while all others are in the lower class. There's a special provision for commoners with exceptional magic or knowledge to enroll. Ragna finds the whole system vague. Despite being just nobles from a remote land, his resolve is set. Ragna feels confident that if it's a contest of skill, he can win. He is determined to show that they can succeed. Upon arriving at the academy for his test, he is immediately berated for being late. The examiner scoffs at the noble from a remote land for keeping an upper-class teacher waiting. Ragna apologizes with a smile, explaining he got a bit lost. The teacher tells him to prepare for the first part of the exam, a basic magic test where he must unleash his maximum output. Ragna asks if there are any specific requirements for the magic, but the examiner impatiently tells him to just do it. Ragna wonders why he has to be the one to examine him as he prepares to cast his spell. A massive explosion of magical energy erupts from Ragna's spell. The blast tears through the wall behind the testing area, and the examiner stares in disbelief. The teacher is left stunned by the sheer destructive power. He looks at the shattered remains of the testing obelisk. He wonders what just happened, and who this boy is. Ragna calmly asks the dumbfounded examiner if he passed. The examiner grits his teeth and announces there are more tests. The examiner acknowledges Ragna's skill in magic. However, he declares that Ragna will never pass this test. He is handed a wooden practice sword. Ragna explains the rules for the swordsmanship test. If Ragna can defeat him, he passes. Ragna clarifies that magic is prohibited, and if he can no longer fight, he fails. Ragna agrees, determined to end it quickly. The examiner rushes in to attack. He sneers, calling Ragna a barbarian. With a swift, powerful movement, Ragna easily dodges the examiner's clumsy strike and sends him flying. The examiner is sent tumbling to the ground. Ragna looks at his broken wooden sword and realizes the examiner's sword had an iron core inside. He confronts the examiner, realizing the test was rigged to make him fail. A voice from the doorway asks about the commotion. Ragna turns to the examiner, asking if this was his doing. The examiner is left speechless. In the doorway stands the school principal, Vorzia Grand Cascade. Ragna recognizes the imposing figure, realizing this unexpected encounter could change everything. The school director, Vorzia Grand Cascade, confirms with Ragna that it is the day of the transfer exam. Ragna internally notes the man's identity as the sage, hoping to avoid any troublesome attention. Vorzia thoughtfully considers the situation. He looks directly at the stunned Ragna and tells him that he passes. Ragna is relieved and thanks him profusely, asking if it is really okay. The director reassures Ragna, stating that he sees little difference in their bloodlines. With that settled, Vorzia asks Ragna if his goal is to join the upper class. Ragna admits that joining is not his primary motivation. His thoughts drift to Alicia, as he considers his true purpose. With conviction, Ragna declares that there is someone at the academy he must protect. Vorzia seems to accept this answer. The director formally acknowledges Ragna's admission into the upper class, prompting a protest from the teacher. The teacher argues that Ragna is from the Forsaken Lands and his fiancée just caused a major incident. Vorzia erupts in anger, calling the teacher an idiotic fool. The teacher recoils in fear. He sternly admonishes the man, telling him that a teacher's job is to guide students before trouble arises. The teacher meekly apologizes. The director then addresses Ragna Brave by name. He grants them a special exception to use their dormitory, cautioning them to maintain a proper relationship as students. As he walks home, Ragna recalls from the game that the director also played a role in helping the protagonist. He arrives back at their dormitory, announcing he is home. Alicia, wearing her new school uniform, rushes to greet Ragna, anxiously asking if he is okay. He stammers that he is fine. Ragna then asks why she is wearing the uniform, privately thinking it looks cute. Ragna sips a drink and tells Alicia that he passed the exam, noting that while he wasn't eager for it, he made sure to succeed. Alicia's concern shifts to curiosity. She asks Ragna about the magic disease she has been wondering about. Ragna explains that he can use all the basic forms of magic, but finds it difficult to explain further. Just as he is about to reveal what he is best at, a loud growl from Alicia's stomach interrupts him. Alicia is mortified and blushes furiously. She quickly changes the subject, insisting they have dinner since they'll be busy at the academy starting the next day. Alicia tells Ragna to let her know if anyone at the academy gives him trouble, though he reminds her that fighting is forbidden. She admits that she does not mind what others say about her, especially since he is there too. Ragna looks at Alicia and tells her she is probably stronger than he is. He reflects that her strength is the ability to endure mental pain, a trait even seasoned soldiers rarely possess. Alicia's confidence stems from knowing exactly who she is. As they walk through the academy halls, students gossip about Alicia's scar, wondering how she could possibly get married now. One student coldly suggests that with her fallen status, he might be able to make her his concubine. The student who insulted Alicia suddenly faints, shocking his friends. Alicia tells Ragna to stop, but he feigns ignorance. Later, in the classroom, the lesson begins. Ragna internally admits to using a bit of killing intent, finding the mainlanders weak. His thoughts shift to the game's protagonist, who is destined to become a saint. Ragna tries to recall the protagonist's name, remembering only that she was a beautiful girl. His thoughts are interrupted when the teacher calls on a student named Mariana Ocean. Mariana correctly answers that the sage's most frequent magic was non-attribute, which requires reaching the pinnacle of nothingness to master. Mariana adjusts her glasses with a smug expression, confident in her answer. Ragna stares in stunned silence, realizing he is looking at the game's heroine. The teacher praises Mariana for correctly answering a trick question, calling her a true pupil of the sage. The student, Mariana Ocean, offers a small, knowing smile. Ragna stares in disbelief, unable to process what he's seeing. The realization hits him with such force that his metaphorical glasses crack and fall from his face. Ragna identifies her as the heroine of the Otome game, lamenting his now cracked glasses. He overhears other students gossiping about Mariana, noting this is the 4th time this month someone has offered to switch seats with her out of pity. They question how someone with her plain appearance is supposed to start a romance with the prince. Frustrated with his poor view, Ragna wishes he had asked for a seat closer to the front. A kind classmate offers to switch seats with Mariana. Mariana politely declines, insisting she can manage on her own. The teacher informs Mariana she'll be moved to the seat in front of the podium during the next seat change. As she rushes away, she bumps into another student and apologizes profusely. Watching from his desk, Ragna's attention is captured by the sight of Alicia. During a holiday, Alicia asks Ragna who he was fighting with. Ragna internally decides it is not a question he can ask, while Alicia declares that men who dwell on the past are no good. A sudden loud crash echoes through the room. Ragna looks on in alarm. He instinctively reaches out to protect Alicia. Alicia flinches from the loud crash, but finds herself completely unharmed. Ragna notes the terrible damage to the wall, making a mental note to fix it later. Alicia asks what it is, and Ragna explains that it's a hidden barrier. Alicia looks at him, confused. Ragna explains that it's a transparent barrier of the holy attribute, the same kind that protects the royal capital. Alicia is astonished, asking if he can use magic without incantations. He elaborates that while most people think of barriers as simple walls, his chantless casting allows for more. Ragna explains that with chantless casting, the possibilities are far greater. Alicia watches in surprise. He demonstrates by levitating the coffee from the pot into her cup, explaining that barriers can be formed into any shape. Alicia stares in awe at the display of magic. She and 2 chibi versions of herself marvel at the cute, floating coffee. She asks if there are other differences between his barriers and those in the capital. Pondering for a moment, Alicia correctly guesses that he can choose what things to let through the barrier. He explains that advanced barriers can be controlled to freely decide what to let through and what to repel. Alicia remarks that his magic seems capable of anything, but Ragna clarifies there are limits. He gives an example, stating that he cannot separate ingredients that are already blended together, like sugar in coffee. Suddenly, a thought seems to startle him. The coffee reminds Ragna that they've run out of the beans Alicia brought. Blushing, Alicia hesitantly asks Ragna if he would like to go out with her later. Ragna agrees, saying he knows a place with delicious coffee. As they walk through town, Ragna asks Alicia where she heard about this place. She explains a friend told her, surprising Ragna that she's already made friends given her situation. Alicia recounts how she met someone in the library during lunch who also liked coffee, and they became friends. They arrive at a place called Coffee Specialty Shop, Ocean. Ragna seems to recognize the name, a look of disbelief on his face. The bell chimes as they open the door. Inside, Mariana greets them, asking if the girl with Ragna is Alicia. Ragna is utterly shocked to see her. He explains that he is with Alicia, who was just standing outside staring at the shop. Mariana looks at Alicia with a hint of recognition. Alicia introduces Ragna, confirming to him that Mariana is the coffee lover she mentioned. Ragna greets Mariana formally. He points out that they are in the same class, which seems to surprise Mariana. Alicia adds that they've never actually talked before. Mariana panics, apologizing profusely for not realizing a noble had come to her shop, wondering why Alicia is with him. Alicia clarifies that she is also of noble status, and that Ragna is her fiancé. This sends Mariana into a deeper panic, bowing low and begging for forgiveness for her ignorance. She even fears she'll be executed, but Alicia quickly reassures her that won't happen. Ragna watches the scene unfold, bewildered. Ragna internally laments how disappointing the main heroine is turning out to be. Mariana apologizes for her outburst, explaining she was just excited at the prospect of finally making a friend, and insists Alicia did nothing wrong. Mariana explains that she saw Alicia drinking coffee in the library and mistook her for a commoner. Ragna internally notes that coffee is considered a commoner's drink in this world, though he enjoys it. Mariana adds that she heard there would be 2 disciples of the sage this year, so she just assumed Alicia was the other one. Ragna is surprised by this information, realizing it's a deviation from the game he remembers. Alicia asks Mariana if she was unaware of the commotion she had caused, and Ragna realizes this is why Alicia was acting alone. Mariana is shocked to learn an incident was happening without her knowledge. Ragna asks why she wasn't aware. She explains that on that important day she accidentally took the wrong carriage and ended up far from the capital. Ragna finds it suspicious that she would make such a mistake on the day of an important event. Alicia recalls hearing that Mariana is a magical genius, but also quite scatterbrained. Mariana proudly confirms she's good at magic, but admits her parents always said she was useless at everything else. Ragna asks about her parents. The question causes Mariana's expression to fall. Mariana quietly reveals that her parents died from an illness a year ago. Ragna feels a pang of guilt and immediately apologizes for being so inconsiderate. Mariana assures him that it is fine. She adds that the reason she is here now is all thanks to her parents. Changing the subject, Mariana remembers she invited them and offers to serve them coffee. She brings them each a cup and a small cake. Alicia takes a sip and is immediately impressed, exclaiming how delicious it is. Alicia praises Mariana's coffee, saying it's completely different from Ragna's, and he has to agree. Ragna wonders what makes it so different since they use the same beans, and an older man jokes that the bitterness might be a metaphor for Ragna's life. Ragna jokingly declares that from now on, he will call Mariana his mentor. Alicia reassures a flustered Mariana that he is just kidding. Mariana finds it strange that Alicia and Ragna, despite being nobles, aren't scary at all. Ragna asks her why she has such a strong aversion to nobility. Mariana explains it stems from a faint memory of a neighborhood kid. The child warned her that defying nobles, even slightly, would result in death. Mariana continues, recounting how she was hit by a noble's carriage around that time. The incident proved the child's warning to be true. The people in the carriage showed no concern for her and simply drove away, leaving her injured on the road. Mariana explains that her eyesight worsened after the accident, and her parents began making coffee for the family after hearing it could help. Before they knew it, the entire family had become coffee fanatics. Alicia steers the conversation back, asking Mariana if she is good at magic. Mariana confirms she is, and begins to explain what her best skill is. Mariana reveals her specialty is recovery magic, the power to heal people. Alicia is stunned, exclaiming that such magic is extremely rare. Ragna quietly agrees with her. He internally recalls that in the game, Saint Mariana's healing powers were legendary, capable of curing any disease, exorcising demons, and even regenerating lost limbs. Mariana shares her motivation. A year ago, she couldn't help her sick parents, so she studied hard to ensure she could save anyone precious to her in the future. Alicia is deeply moved by her story. She gives Mariana a heartfelt hug while Ragna looks on. After a moment, Alicia observes that there are still no other customers. Ragna sheepishly admits that he closed the shop when he entered, since he was the last one in. Alicia looks at him in shock. She furiously shakes him, yelling that he's obstructing business and must open the shop immediately. Mariana calmly tells them it's okay, as she's been closing on holidays to focus on her studies. As they prepare to leave, Mariana thanks them both for coming. Alicia asks if Mariana is not going to stay in the dormitory, figuring she would be exempt from various rules. Mariana smiles warmly and simply says that she likes this house. A flashback shows Academy staff explaining to Mariana that her living expenses and tuition are covered by diverting dormitory fees, provided she maintains excellent grades. Back in the present, Mariana sincerely tells Alicia to let her know if she has any problems at the Academy. Alicia is touched, telling Mariana that her words alone are enough and thanks her. A chibi Mariana thinks to herself how dazzling Alicia is. Mariana playfully asks Ragna to give Alicia to her, but he flatly refuses, much to Alicia's exasperation. Ragna and Alicia walk home under the evening sky. Alicia turns to Ragna and asks if he agrees that Mariana is a good girl. Ragna remembers seeing Mariana for the first time, noting that she had the same kind of eyes as Alicia. He recalls thinking how beautiful her eyes were, and how she looked straight at him. He tells Alicia he understands, remarking that people with a strong core turn out that way. Alicia asks if he has seen someone like that before. Ragna confirms that he has. Looking at Alicia, Ragna tells her she has eyes that carry a strong will to resist fate, calling her beautiful and cute. Alicia blushes, flustered by the compliment. She dismisses his words as him playing the part of a prince, though he insists he's not the princely type. The villainess would look down on her rival, a mere commoner in her eyes. In the original story, a commoner protagonist and a villainess were fated rivals. They were destined to be locked in battle until one of them was destroyed. But now, Those two fated rivals have lunch together, with Mariana admiring Alicia's sandwich and Alicia offering to share. Watching them, Ragna reflects that harmony among friends is a beautiful thing. Ragna wonders to himself how things could have turned out this way. Mariana, sitting in the classroom, wonders where Ragna went, noting his sudden disappearance at the start of the break. Ragna worries that his association with Alicia might bring her more criticism. However, he is content with being a side character in this story. He finds it a strange twist of fate for the game's protagonist and villainess to get along so well. Mariana, the original protagonist, is living a peaceful school life. This contradicts the original game, where Alicia lost a duel and was driven into the frontier territory. Ragna concludes that his fight is not with Mariana in this timeline. The question remains, if not Mariana, then who was it that defeated Alicia? Ragna is left pondering this crucial question, a bead of sweat forming on his brow. Ragna recalls that the prince initiated the duel and grows curious about what is happening. He decides to investigate the matter himself. He hears the sounds of adoring girls calling for someone named Edward. Peeking around a corner, he finds them. Prince Edward politely turns down an invitation for lunch, explaining he has a prior engagement. Ragna recognizes him as Edward Gran Aetherdam, Alicia's former fiancé. In the game, the prince's route was considered the classic starting point for players. Ragna recalls that Edward was designed to be an easy first opponent, essentially a tutorial prince. The prince greets his awaited companion. Ragna believes that according to the game's story, Edward should be developing his relationship with the protagonist right now. Edward apologizes for keeping the person waiting. The girl waiting for him, Patricia, tells the prince she just arrived. Ragna is completely shocked, wondering who this new girl is. Edward gently asks Patricia to call him by his first name, an offer that leaves her feeling deeply honored. Edward reminds Patricia of their first meeting in the castle town, where she used his name. He believes their reunion at the academy is fate. Patricia explains she was unaware of his royal status, but he insists that he wants her to use his name. Flustered, she begins to comply. With a blush, Patricia shyly calls him by his first name. Observing this from a distance, Ragna finds the entire display embarrassing. Ragna is certain a character named Patricia never existed in the game. He questions if this new person has replaced Mariana in the story. Suddenly, another man approaches and casually interrupts Edward. A group of young men joins them, each competing for Patricia's attention. Ragna is shocked to realize that they are all romanceable targets from the game. A reverse harem has formed, something Ragna recognizes from the game's gallery. Edward tells the others to restrain themselves, worried they are overwhelming Patricia. Patricia, however, cheerfully says she is fine and has brought extra food for everyone. Ragna understands that Patricia has completely usurped the protagonist's role, triggering romance flags with every single target. Two of the men discuss how problematic this is, given that they are all heirs who should already be engaged. Ragna imagines a grim future where such a tangled web of relationships could lead to someone's death. Deciding he wants no involvement, he prepares to leave. However, he concludes that there is one particular person who warrants careful observation. Jalasis Gran Ignite tells Patricia that it's tastier to eat together with everyone. Ragna identifies him as the second son of the powerful Ignite ducal family. Jalasis then asks Patricia if she knows about the magician who caused a commotion in the Brave territory. Ragna tells himself to calm down and not act rashly. He recalls that Jalasis was a very troublesome character in the game. Jalasis was born to a concubine, raised merely as a spare for the true heir of the Ignite family. His route involved a dark and heavy story about saving him from his complicated family life. He was a dangerous character whose disposition could shift dramatically based on the player's choices. Ragna finds it strange that despite the Ignite family targeting him, he has never once encountered Jalasis. He resolves to leave the situation alone for the time being. Ragna reaffirms his goal. All he wants is for Alicia to live a peaceful life. He must prevent any possible ruin that may come in the future. In order to achieve that, he must be vigilant. Suddenly, a voice behind him remarks that peeking is not an admirable trait. Ragna turns around and is confronted by an imposing figure. He recognizes the man as the principal and warns him that the roof is dangerous, but the principal scoffs at the warning. Ragna cuts to the chase and asks the principal why he is there. Ragna realizes this is the perfect time to ask a pressing question. He considers the evidence, Patricia's unnatural hair color and her impossible reverse harem. With all the facts laid out, Ragna is certain he knows who that girl truly is. He realizes that she must be a reincarnator, just like him. Facing the principal, Ragna asks him to reveal everything he knows about the student named Patricia, the center of this distorted fate. Ragna asks Principal Volzia to tell him everything about the student named Patricia. He wants to know all the details, her origin, her past, and the magic she uses. Volzia repeats the name Patricia Kindred, considering the request. The principal claims to be unaware of any reason for suspicion, insisting Patricia's admission was legitimate. Despite the denial, Ragna feels that something is wrong. He suspects a scheme involving a noble who helped Patricia by switching carriages during a past event. His thoughts immediately point to the Ignite family as the probable conspirators. Volzia acknowledges Ragna's caution, but suggests it's better to keep an eye on them while they are enrolled. Ragna reluctantly agrees with the principal's logic. He lets out a sigh, lamenting his lost chance at a peaceful existence. The principal tells Ragna he should be enjoying his youth as a student, not living a restricted life. Ragna casually replies that being from the Forsaken Lands means staying in the background is his best option for the next 3 years. Volzia sternly questions if Ragna has forgotten the pride of his family name. Volzia insists that the brave bloodline is defined by its unyielding resistance even in the harshest conditions. He continues that this resistance lasts until one's final breath. Ragna clenches his fist, having always thought of it as mere desperation. Disappointed, Volzia questions if Ragna's resolve is truly so weak. With a look of intense fury, Ragna prepares to strike. He lands a solid punch on the principal's jaw. The impact creates a powerful shockwave, cracking the ground around them. Students nearby cry out in alarm, wondering about the sudden rumbling. Ragna stands over the principal, his expression grim. His fist remains poised near Volzia's face. Ragna declares that this is exactly the situation he orchestrated. He issues a stark warning. He will not forgive anyone who harms Alicia, regardless of their authority. The principal accepts the challenge, telling Ragna to prove his conviction. He then asks Ragna Brave if he believes in the concept of fate. Ragna questions the strange inquiry, asking if he means the awful game scenario. Volzia redirects the conversation, mentioning Mariana Ocean. The principal reveals that Mariana possesses a powerful fate, but it is currently twisting into madness on a grand scale. He foresees that this warped destiny will draw in others with strong fates at the academy, leading to a conflict that will split the nation. At present, Mariana is powerless to fight against this fate. He gives Ragna a direct order: protect Mariana, who is now without her guardian. The principal explains that her destiny is not meant to be contained within the academy. Instead, it lies somewhere far away. Inside the dungeon, Mariana nervously clutches her hands. Ragna ponders the principal's directive to protect her, while Alicia asks if this is Mariana's first dungeon experience. This is a practical training dungeon where students apply the magic they've learned, but it's not without its dangers. Nearby, another female student clings to her partner in fear. He recalls a scene from the game where Edward promises to protect a weak Patricia. Ragna reflects that for many, the dungeon is simply an opportunity for romance. But he knows a sacred relic is hidden within, and worries about how to deal with the fake heroine. Alicia appears, ready for action, and tells the others it's time to go. Ragna is momentarily stunned by her confident appearance. He thinks she looks like a seasoned adventurer and asks about her excitement, which she attributes to it being a while since her last dungeon. Suddenly, a mocking voice interrupts, pointing out the damaged girl. Ekaterina and her followers appear, with Ekaterina mocking Mariana as a persistent commoner. Ragna recognizes the girl with drill-like hair as someone who used to be near Alicia. Ekaterina scoffs at the presence of what she calls lowlifes, from slum monkeys to peasants. Ekaterina asserts that the academy is exclusively for nobles. Mariana watches, concerned by the hostile attitude. Ekaterina continues her insults towards them. Mariana quietly asks Alicia if she should drive the bullies away. Ragna calls out to stop the escalating situation. Alicia steps in front of her friends to face the bullies. Ekaterina smirks, asking her what she wants. Ragna worriedly says Alicia's name. Alicia's calm greeting infuriates Ekaterina, who lashes out, calling her a smug, damaged failure responsible for the academy's state. Alicia tells Ekaterina to direct all her hate towards her, as she deserves it. She stands protectively beside Mariana, declaring that her friend is not involved. She then challenges Ekaterina and her followers, offering them a duel or any other form of confrontation they desire. Alicia offers to fight either the sage's disciples or Ekaterina herself, but Mariana expresses doubt about her chances of winning. Ekaterina becomes furious at the challenge. She yells that Alicia is getting cocky and tells her to stick to drinking coffee. Alicia smiles sweetly and agrees, saying she'll drink coffee precisely because she enjoys it. Thwarted, Ekaterina calls Alicia a buzzkill and decides to leave. Her group departs, muttering about the unbearable smell of beans. Ragna observes the scene, a sense of confirmation dawning on him. Alicia apologizes for the trouble, but Ragna tells her she is strong. He looks at her with genuine admiration, saying that's why he feels so strongly. He dismisses her apology, telling her she looked cool and that he has come to like her. Ragna jokingly asks if he should kill those who insulted Alicia, while Mariana adds that they also insulted Coffee, before Alicia tells them to stop. Mariana adjusts her glasses, pondering the interaction. Ragna looks into the mouth of the cave, confirming this is the dungeon. Mariana remarks on the relentless barrage of traps and monsters they've faced. As another group passes them, Alicia wonders why they are at the front, to which Ragna admits it's likely his fault. An arrow shoots out from a trap, and Ragna shields the others as Alicia asks if they're okay. He catches the arrow just before it hits him, explaining he has a constant protective barrier around his body. Alicia calls it an amazing skill, but Mariana points out its vulnerability to magical exhaustion. Ragna prepares to elaborate on the magic. He recounts a time he was close to death, surrounded by monsters, which led to the creation of the barrier. He tells them he has been practicing it constantly. Through constant training, he can now maintain the barrier unconsciously. Mariana tentatively asks if the Brave territory is a frightening place. Ragna smiles and tells her it's a very nice place. Alicia announces she'll be joining Ragna for the summer break and invites Mariana, who happily agrees to go. Ragna suggests turning the trip into a training opportunity in the mountains. He excitedly announces his plan for a Brave-style boot camp to teach them chantless magic. Mariana is ecstatic about the training, while Alicia makes a more cautious request not to be killed. Ragna confidently tells them to leave it to him. Mariana finds the idea of his magic mysterious. Ragna questions why the monsters in the dungeon disappear without leaving corpses. Mariana theorizes it was created by ancient sages and is fascinated by the mysteries. She starts chipping at the wall to collect a sample, despite Alicia telling her to wait. Her actions trigger an enormous, unforeseen magic circle to erupt from the ground. Ragna and Alicia watch in horror, shouting her name and questioning what insane magic she has unleashed. Ragna lands firmly, carrying both Alicia and Mariana. As Mariana comes to, she adjusts her glasses and looks around. She wonders aloud where they are, taking in the sight of the dark, crumbling ruin littered with skulls. Ragna recognizes the scenery, surmising they've been transported to the dungeon's lowest level. He inwardly curses Mariana's protagonist-like ability to trigger a teleportation trap. Alicia confiscates Mariana's pickaxe, chiding her that personal safety is the top priority. She sternly reminds Mariana that she won't be able to enjoy coffee if she dies here. Alicia pulls out a thermos and offers Mariana coffee, calling it potentially their last. Alicia simply explains the importance of bringing one's own food into a dungeon. Seeing this, both Mariana and Ragna decide to have some as well. Ragna is glad to see his companions are surprisingly calm. He knows that falling to the bottom of a dungeon usually means game over, with no hope of rescue. As he contemplates their grim situation, Alicia calls his name. Alicia points out the seriousness of their predicament. She explains they're in an unknown area and can't call for help. She notes Ragna's unusual calmness and asks if he knows something they don't. Ragna reassures Alicia that they will be fine, explaining there is something they can do. He tells her that once they've recovered, they will head to the deepest part of the ruins. He knows that the magic circle that brought them here is key to their situation. Ragna recalls from the game that this event was something the villainess Alicia used to do. He decides they have no choice but to move forward, as there is a pendant deeper inside that is necessary for their strategy. He thinks about the sacred relic, an important item hidden in the deepest chamber needed to save the country. It is essential for the Saint's awakening and can only be obtained by following a specific character's route. He resolves that they must collect it. Ragna remembers that they need to defeat a golem to find a teleportation circle that leads to the exit. He tells the others that records say defeating the Guardian will allow them to return. As Alicia points ahead, Ragna internally laments the hassle of fighting the tough monster. Alicia spots a large, ornate door. Mariana excitedly proclaims it might be the exit. Ragna, however, is wary, noticing there is no golem guarding the door as there should be. Suddenly, a strange, viscous substance begins to form nearby. The substance rapidly coalesces into the form of a massive, sludge-covered golem. Ragna watches in alarm. It appears directly in front of Mariana, and Ragna shouts her name. As a torrent of flames erupts, Ragna grabs Mariana and leaps out of the fire's path. The monster lets out a guttural laugh. Alicia watches in horror. The sludge melts away, revealing a hulking, monstrous figure beneath. Alicia stares up at it, stunned by its sheer size and power. Mariana marvels at its incredible power, comparing it to the sun, and Ragna agrees. He internally recognizes the creature as the demon to whom Alicia entrusts her soul in the game's story. Not wanting to get close, he orders both of the girls to step back. Ragna calls out to Alicia, but she is unresponsive. A painful memory surfaces the moment her match against Patricia was decided, and she was declared the loser. The memory continues, with her opponent calling her a disgrace for losing to a commoner. The word pathetic echoes in her mind. The harsh words leave her frozen in the present. Ragna calls her name again, trying to snap her out of it. Ragna quickly moves to Alicia, gently holding her face. He forces her to look at him, telling her firmly that it's all right. Alicia slowly comes back to her senses. Ragna tells her and Mariana to use their aqua veil for protection and stay put. As he rushes forward to face the demon alone, a concerned Alicia asks what he plans to do. With a look of cold fury, Ragna declares that he's going to kill the bastard. He tells the demon that it will take responsibility for triggering his fiancé's trauma. Ragna unleashes a powerful whirlwind attack. He notices that the demon's body shrinks under the force of his magic. He presses his assault, spinning through the air. He wraps the demon in a vortex of cutting wind. Alicia senses something is wrong, shouting that another attack is coming from behind. With a final, decisive slash, Ragna slices through the demon's neck. Mariana cheers, thinking he's cut off its head, but Alicia knows it's not over. The demon's head falls, but its body remains standing. Its head snaps back into place. Ragna watches, unsurprised, noting that a simple decapitation wasn't enough to kill it. Ragna taunts the creature, telling it to try and hit him. He leaps forward, ready for its next attack. He calls the demon's defense pathetic and unworthy of even the lowest-ranked brave. The demon is surprised by his speed, wondering if it was careless. The demon growls in frustration. The demon retaliates, engulfing Ragna in a massive explosion of fire. Alicia and Mariana cry out his name in terror. The demon roars, expecting its opponent to be burned to ash. But Ragna emerges from the flames unscathed, remarking that a fire dragon's breath is much hotter. He walks through the dissipating fire, demanding to know who is inside the demon. He knows that demons require a human host who has made a deal to take physical form. Ragna decides he'll know whose magic power it is if he touches it. He reaches his hand out toward the creature. Before he can make contact, the demon begins to scream as its body glows brightly. Ragna realizes with alarm that it's self-destructing. A massive explosion tears through the chamber. Mariana cries out as the aqua veil protecting her, and Alicia begins to fail under the strain. Just as their barrier shatters, Ragna appears, deflecting the blast with his own magic to protect them. The chamber is left in ruins after the explosion. With the danger past, Ragna wonders who was controlling the demon. Alicia and Mariana rush to his side, worriedly pointing out that he's been burned. Ragna dismisses it as a scratch, reminding Alicia that he promised to protect her no matter what. Alicia quietly thanks him, her composure restored. Ragna is glad to see she's calmed down. Suddenly, he turns his attention to the rubble, and Alicia asks him what's wrong. Ragna explains that he saw a teleportation magic circle during the fight. He holds up the relic he found and leads the girls to the circle, telling them to hop on. The group is enveloped in a bright light as the teleportation activates. As they teleport away, Ragna reflects that he now has a grasp on the sensation of the enemy's magic power. His next goal is clear: find the main body of the one responsible and kill them. Patricia looks down on Jalasis with cold disappointment, calling him pathetic. He can only utter her name in response, clutching his fist in frustration. She presses him for an answer, asking if he succeeded in his mission to retrieve the artifact. Jalasis looks away, shamefaced, admitting he couldn't succeed. Patricia's fury erupts, and she strikes him repeatedly, calling him an idiot. She berates him for failing even with the power of a demon at his disposal. As Jalasis lies beaten on the floor, Patricia calmly asks him to explain what happened. Recalling the fierce battle, Jalasis explains that he was interrupted by Ragna Brave. Patricia clicks her tongue in annoyance, recognizing the name of the mob noble. She inwardly fumes, considering Ragna a minor character who should have naturally disappeared. Patricia internally recounts her original plan to frame Alicia as the villainess, a plan that has now collapsed. She bites her thumb in frustration, realizing the original story route is no longer an option. She curses her former followers as useless, despite her efforts to blackmail and manipulate them. Jalasis breaks her out of her thoughts, pointing out that she is bleeding and needs to heal the wound. Patricia curtly dismisses his concern and orders him to take off his clothes. Jalasis removes his shirt, revealing injuries across his torso. Her demeanor changes as she asks him to show her where he was hurt. Jalasis points to a deep scar encircling his neck. Patricia's hands glow, and the wound begins to heal. As she heals him, she realizes that Ragna must also be a reincarnator to have been able to decapitate the demon in a single blow. She wonders about what happened to the body after the self-destruction, contemplating if Ragna's situation is similar to her own. With the healing complete, Patricia praises Jalasis, telling him he did a great job despite the defeat. A blush spreads across Jalasis's face as he takes in her praise. He embraces her tightly, burying his face in her shoulder. Overcome with emotion, Jalasis quietly thanks her, tears welling in his eyes. Patricia looks on with a complicated yet gentle expression. Patricia holds him close, calling him her adorable, crybaby little brother. She reveals that he, like her, is a rare being who has carried a demon since birth. Jalasis looks up at her, murmuring her name. Patricia tells him that for now, it's okay for her to act as his big sister. Jalasis looks at her, stunned by her sudden warmth. He stammers, calling her sis as he clings to her. He confesses that Ragna was incredibly strong, admitting that he stands no chance of defeating him. Patricia internally reflects that he has always been a crybaby. She pulls back and asks him a direct question. What is it that he truly wants? Jalasis is taken aback, forced to confront his own desires. His hesitation gives way to a dark obsession as he declares that he wants Alicia. He repeats his desire, vowing to possess her even if it means destroying her. His mind fills with twisted thoughts of chaining her up so they can be together forever. Patricia calmly tells him that since Alicia currently belongs to another, he will have to kill him to take her. She encourages him to believe in her, assuring him that he is special. She tells him that as long as he can keep going, she will support him. She leans in, promising that as his big sister, she will always stay by his side. Patricia seals her promise with a deep kiss. She pulls her brother into an intimate embrace. Jalasis's magical power surges around him, reinvigorated. He thanks her and vows that he will definitely win their next encounter. Patricia watches him silently for a moment. She then tells a confused Jalasis that he has actually already won. She playfully explains that being embraced and kissed by a cute girl is a victory in itself. Jalasis is left speechless and flustered. He asks if that truly counts as a win, and she enthusiastically confirms that it does. She tells him the other students live for that kind of thing, and that he should go back to school to see. As Jalasis leaves, Patricia's playful demeanor vanishes. Her thoughts turn to Ragnavel Brave, the unexpected obstacle. Looking out the window, she wonders what his goal is, and vows that if he gets in her way, she will show no mercy. Against this world she despises, Patricia hardens her resolve to carve her own will into fate. The answer she has chosen is destruction. The memory of the chaotic dungeon training was still fresh. But now, as if nothing had happened, they had moved on to their next practical training session at a poolside. Ragna couldn't help but wonder why there was even a pool here in the first place. He wryly concludes that this is exactly the sort of nonsensical swimsuit episode 1 would expect to find in the world of an Otome game. Patricia gasps for air at the edge of the pool. She timidly admits that she's not very good at swimming and finds it scary. Edward reassures her that he's right there with her, but his companion insists that he will be the one to help. Ragna recognizes the scene as a classic post-battle reward event, a development that does not make him happy. Someone calls out his name. A girl named Mariana approaches Ragna, asking why he isn't swimming. He brushes her off, saying he will join later. From across the pool, a group of male students cheerily call out to her. Mariana happily suggests having some tea, noting it's a perfect day for magic. Ragna listens silently. He asks if she was being called from over there, but she seems confused, saying that the only people who call for her are Alicia and him. Some female students observe Mariana, commenting that she hasn't drawn much hate despite being a commoner, perhaps due to her appropriate conduct. They speculate she might even have some secret fans, as a few boys look on dejectedly. Ragna, however, is preoccupied with another thought, wondering where Alicia could be. Ragna's thoughts drift back to Alicia, worrying if she's okay. He remembers her telling him he was worrying too much, and her simple thank you. Meanwhile, Mariana feels good practicing her magic, deciding that for now, she can just stay by his side. She has faith that Alicia will be fine and is sure she can overcome anything. Suddenly, a huge splash of water hits Ragna, who demands to know what she is doing. Mariana explains that she's practicing water element magic, so he warns her to stay away from the pool because it's dangerous. Now soaking wet, Mariana frantically searches for her missing glasses. Ragna looks away in annoyance, muttering a curse. He overhears other students gossiping about his scars, calling them terrifying and warning each other to stay away. Ragna grows despondent, feeling that at this rate, his dream of making friends is hopeless. He wonders if there's anyone out there he could be friends with, someone he could speak to with his fists. Suddenly, a voice behind him observes that he seems to be going through a lot too. Ragna turns to see Jalasis sitting on the bench. He is completely startled by the sudden appearance. Ragna is shocked and confused by Jalasis's presence. Jalasis calmly pats the seat next to him, inviting Ragna to sit. Ragna sits down next to him. He internally processes that this is his first conversation with one of the game's capture targets. Jalasis thinks to himself that he has no idea what people like Ragna are thinking. Jalasis asks if it's okay for Ragna not to join the others, and Ragna counters by asking why Jalasis started talking to him. Jalasis admits that he's not good with water. Ragna is taken aback by the sudden compliment. Jalasis then points out that, more importantly, Ragna has an amazing body. Jalasis asks where he got such a wound, and Ragna explains it was from the Fripe territory. Ragna thinks to himself that he could have put a shirt on, but he decides he's fine with it, as long as Alicia isn't hiding her wounds either. Jalasis is impressed that the territory has been at war with a neighboring country, commenting that Ragna looks strong. Ragna demurs, saying Jalasis also has a well-trained physique. Jalasis attributes his build to his upbringing, and Ragna agrees that they both have their struggles. The situation becomes incredibly awkward for Ragna. Jalasis wonders if he should move, while Ragna thinks it would be annoying to give up the spot since he sat there first. Jalasis glances over at him. Ragna looks back, confused. Jalasis gets his attention. Jalasis abruptly asks Ragna if he has ever held hands with someone, catching him completely off guard. He continues his interrogation, asking if Ragna has ever been hugged or loved, answering one of the questions for himself. Ragna internally notes that Jalasis is completely ignoring the flow of their conversation, just blasting through his strange questions. He realizes with dawning certainty what is happening. He identifies this as Jalasis's emotional phase, an event that occurs after collecting 18 flags in the game. According to the game's plot, Jalasis, who usually keeps his distance, would start taking an unusual interest in the protagonist and ask many questions. Confused and horrified, Ragna questions why this flag progression is happening to him, concluding it must be a glitch. Jalasis says he just got curious about him, which Ragna recognizes as a key line for advancing a relationship in the game. He remembers a scene where the protagonist worried that Jalasis might suddenly try to kiss her. Steeling himself, Ragna prepares to unleash his special move, the Brave-style rejection punch. Instead of punching, Ragna interrupts Jalasis by pointedly asking what he likes about Alicia. The question surprises even himself. Jalasis seems taken aback by the sudden change in topic. Jalasis's expression turns serious as he tells Ragna that he is not supposed to be here yet. Ragna stares back, his expression tense. Jalasis looks on with a calculating gaze. In a flash, Jalasis moves from his spot. Ragna quietly processes the confrontation, simply saying, "Is that so?" Now sitting beside him, Jalasis reveals that he knows Ragna was present in the deepest part of the dungeon. Ragna wonders why Jalasis has chosen to confront him so openly now. Jalasis makes his intentions plain. It's a declaration of war for Alicia's affection. Suddenly, Alicia calls out to Jalasis from the water, much to Ragna's shock. She cheerfully asks if he'd like to practice swimming with her, since she knows he isn't good with water. Jalasis accepts her offer and prepares to join her. He steps toward the edge of the pool. Before leaving completely, Jalasis looks back at Ragna, noting that he's clearly never kissed anyone. He then boasts that he has, and with his prior loss, they are now even with one win each. Ragna can only watch in silence as Jalasis joins the others in the pool. Other students finish swimming and decide to rest in the shade. As some students continue to fight over the game's heroine, Ragna seethes with rage. He glares intensely, promising internally that he will make Jalasis pay and will definitely kill him. Ragna's mind races, questioning why a member of Patricia's harem is now trying to go after Alicia. He imagines Jalasis declaring he is tired of hiding and is ready to fight openly. His anger reaches a fever pitch, imagining himself summoning his dragon Onyx to eliminate the problem before his inner voice tells him to cut it out. Alicia approaches, interrupting his dark thoughts to ask what dangerous things he is mumbling about. He is momentarily stunned by her presence. His internal rage is like a monster in a cage, barely being held back. When Alicia asks what's wrong, Ragna bluntly states that there's someone he wants to kill. A small, rational part of his conscience urges him to restrain himself. Alicia grows more serious, mentioning that she's heard about a lot of injuries coming from his class lately. She warns him that if he continues on such a reckless rampage, their position will only get worse. Ragna listens in silence. Alicia shyly suggests he doesn't have to put on the collar she gave him, but Ragna insists he will wear it today. As he puts it on, he reaffirms his devotion, thinking that he belongs to Alicia. Meanwhile, Mariana calls out for Alicia, asking if she's seen her glasses, which Patricia points out are already on her head. Ragna remains resolute in his decision. Jalasis observes from afar, suspecting that his opponents have made their first move by retrieving a sacred relic. Ragna touches the collar, noticing a faint warmth emanating from it. His resolve hardens as he promises to protect both of them, no matter what. Her friend Mariana calls out to her, asking what she is doing. Alicia admits she was looking for Ragna, but Mariana notes he does not seem to be around during the lunch break. Alicia looks away, disappointed, thinking to herself that she had hoped to have lunch with him. Elsewhere, Ragna sits in a classroom, overhearing other students excitedly discussing their romantic plans for the upcoming summer break. As they talk about going on vacation and sharing a kiss, Ragna listens with a grim expression, realizing he is facing a serious situation. Marana finds Ragna and immediately senses a dangerously malicious magic leaking from him, telling him that Alicia had been looking for him. She asks if he was lost in thought, but he brushes it off. Ragna claims he was just doing magic detection for Alicia's class, though he privately thinks he has done something terrible. Ragna is consumed with jealousy, wishing he could fight his rival on a battlefield instead of dealing with romance. He turns to Mariana and awkwardly asks if it is natural for couples to want to get closer and kiss during the summer. Mariana is completely taken aback by the blunt question, stammering that it is not yet time for her to think about such things. After composing herself, Mariana correctly deduces that Ragna is worried someone else might take Alicia from him. Ragna attempts to dismiss her concern, questioning who would pursue a woman who is already engaged and living with someone, but his insecurity shows. Ragna insists he is just being careful, but Mariana threatens to tell Alicia about his worries. She then asks why he always disappears so quickly if he is that concerned. Ragna explains that he feels it would not be right to take away Alicia's time with her friends, and that his presence might lead to her being criticized. Mariana is shocked, realizing this is the reason he has been avoiding her. She exclaims that neither she nor Alicia would care about something like that, but Ragna quietly states that he does care. At that moment, Alicia appears and calls out his name. Taking charge, Alicia tells them to come to the library after school to work on their summer vacation assignments together. She adds that she knows a good, quiet place for them to work. Watching them, Mariana finds their dynamic frustrating. Mariana reflects on how Ragna's attempts to be considerate are making Alicia look lonely. She decides that if caring for each other only results in keeping their distance, they might as well just stay together all the time. The whole situation gives her a serious headache. Mariana tells Ragna she will explain everything to Alicia herself. As Alicia walks off, cheerfully telling them she will see them after school. Ragna is impressed by Mariana's assertiveness, thinking it is what one would expect from a former protagonist. The scene then transitions to the grand school library. Later in the library, Ragna arrives and apologizes for keeping Alicia waiting. A blushing Alicia replies that she just got there too. Mariana intervenes, physically pushing Ragna into the seat next to Alicia. Alicia thanks Mariana for her concern, admitting that her worry was obvious. Mariana confesses that she panicked watching them be so distant at school when they are so close on days off. Alicia, flustered, tells her it is none of her business, and that they have their own pace. Alicia pats the seat next to her, telling Ragna to hurry up and sit down. He complies like an obedient dog. Mariana declares that they should get their homework done quickly, as it would be awful to have to bring it back to the Brave Domain. Mariana asks if it is all right for her to join them, and Alicia assures her it is. Ragna jokes that they are short-staffed and might need her help sometimes. With the three of them settled, Alicia enthusiastically suggests they get some magic training in as well. Alicia asks Ragna what kind of souvenir he is thinking of getting, and he replies that it is probably coffee beans. Ragna explains that he wants everyone to taste the amazing coffee he had at Mariana's place. Mariana enthusiastically offers to give them some, boasting that she has a massive stock at home. Alicia expresses her concern for Mariana, asking if she will have enough coffee left for herself. Mariana sheepishly explains that she bought a huge amount of beans before school started, thinking she would fail, and now has too much. Hearing this, Alicia gratefully accepts her offer, while Ragna looks on. Ragna asks Mariana if she would teach the Brave family her coffee-making techniques. He assures her that the flavor is outstanding, and that she'll be welcomed as Alicia's friend. Mariana agrees, saying that while she is not a skilled teacher, she will do her best. Ragna excuses himself to grab some materials for his studies. Ragna walks through the library aisles. He finds the section he was looking for, Sage Studies. He hears a familiar voice and peeks around a bookshelf, witnessing a strange interaction. Castor kisses Patricia's hand, speaking of love. Ragna recognizes Patricia as the fake heroine. He identifies the man as Castor von Pentagram, son of the Prime Minister. Castor calls Patricia his holy mother while she praises him like a child. Ragna is utterly shocked by the bizarre interaction. Ragna is stunned, thinking to himself that Castor is a mama's boy. He recalls that in the game, Castor was meant to be a clever and responsible person. His thoughts drift to another memory of Patricia with Edward, wondering what happened to him. He remembers a scene where Edward asks Patricia to wait for him. Edward had promised to get into the student council and nominate her. In another scene, Castor reassures Patricia of her talent, despite her being a commoner. He recalls Patricia meeting another suitor at a trading company. A different man, seemingly a noble, tells Patricia he met her first and wants her to choose him. Ragna realizes this is why she has so many admirers. The memory shows Patricia kissing Castor. She tells him it's a special act, something she hasn't even shared with Edward. Castor thanks her, saying her affection will finally let him sleep peacefully. The click of a door brings Ragna back to the present. He slumps against a bookshelf, trying to process what he just witnessed. He thinks about how sly Patricia must be to have been approaching Castor since they were children. Caught off guard, Ragna is confronted by Patricia, who calls him out for spying on her and having terrible manners. In a world